What is it do you like about Coke?
I love the smell of it.
It's raw. It's raw every goddamn year.
Yes,
Lord.
CIRV'N raw, goddammit.
Subscribe to Serving It Raw and let's keep it
all the way funky, uncut, raw. Serving it raw just like my boy Gutter Kane.
Yes, Lord. You the tapped into the Serving It Raw podcast. I'm your host, Gutter Kane, the Gutter Man. And today's special guest is a powerhouse storyteller, an actress, an author, and a creative spirit whose journey through Hollywood, music, and personal transformation is nothing short of inspiring. From groundbreaking film roles to deeply personal storytelling, she's carved out a legacy rooted in truth, resilience, and artistry. Servers, help me welcome to the show, Cynda Williams. How you doing?
So well, thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
Yes, like I said, I'm such a big fan of your acting during the 90s and other things that you did, whether it was film or TV. And so I want to touch on things from the past as well as what you're working on and possibly, stuff for the future. But I really want to, really put a spotlight on you and what you've done and contributing to the culture in acting and also singing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, I always like to start from the beginning. Take me back to the beginning. Before the cameras, before the spotlight, like what moments in your early life really shaped who you would become?
Well, to be honest, I had a difficult beginning. I've come to believe that all of the trauma that happens to us helps us or hurts us depending on what we choose. Okay. And so when I was very young, I had some early childhood trauma, and what it did to me was it was pretty nonverbal. I didn't talk a lot. I didn't smile. I did not have friends very early on. There's very few pictures of me that you see in me as a child where I have a smile on my face because I was very somber, very quiet. And it was due to a lot of trauma early on. Mm-hmm. So since I have a lot of friends and I was the only girl for 14 years, it was all boys. My cousins, my brothers, it was all boys. So my family was very patriarchal. So girls weren't supposed to hang out with boys. So I was by myself most of the time. So I was very comfortable alone. Didn't have friends. So I became my own best friend. And I talked to myself, and I always felt like I was talking to somebody else, and I didn't realize until much later who that was for me. But I talked to myself. And if things happened to me that upset me or made me happy or whatever, I would have a full-blown conversation with myself out loud, both sides of the conversation. Mm. I would say what I would say, and I would say what they would say. And that is where my acting began, because I was always different people. I was myself in whatever tone or mood or whatever I wanted to present myself to this person in my imagination. Mm-hmm. And then I was them. And so when I would be cleaning the house, because I was the only girl for a long time, so I had to do all of the woman's work. I'm very domestic. Cleaning, cooking, whatever was asked of me, washing clothes, taking care of the boys, whatever. But when I'd be vacuuming, that was my favorite time, because then nobody could hear me, and I'd be vacuuming, and I'd be having these full-on energetic conversations with whoever it was I was happy with, sad with, mad with, whatever.
Gotcha.
And so right away, very early on, acting was therapeutic for me. Okay. It was very therapeutic. It was healing, because it was literally the only way I spoke. And then my uncle noticed, who was a professional singer at the time, and he stayed with us when he was in Chicago because he had bands there and everything. he could tell that something had shifted in me pretty early on. So right away, he really started feeding into me when it came to creative pursuits. He said he could tell that I was a very creative person. So he had a keyboard downstairs. He would play and he would teach me how to play a little bit. And then he just started getting me to sing. So
Okay.
that's how I expressed myself. I was singing and I was acting. So when people say, well, what did you want to do when you were a kid? There was never any other thing. There was
Okay.
never anything else I ever wanted to do. I never considered it, never thought about it. This was it. And I think I went to see Jesus Christ Superstar when I was little, maybe 5.
Hmm.
And when I saw that movie the first time, I was with my grandmother and my great aunt. And it affected me so much that I was bawling and sobbing. I had to leave the theater. I had to go out into the lobby. And if we were the only ones in the theater watching it. And I remember thinking, I want to do that to somebody. I want somebody to feel the way those actors, because I knew they were actors. I knew enough, even though I was young, to understand that those weren't really Jesus and Mary and Judas.
Yeah, I got you.
They were actors, that were singers. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to make people feel when I do whatever I do. And at that time, it was more singing than acting, to be honest, because
Okay.
I did more singing than acting.
And so would you say that that was your specific turning point? Like where you realized like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do, or
Yeah.
this is okay.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Hmm.
Now, how old were you at that point?
5.
Oh, okay. He was early. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Now, later on, as you're getting older and still, singing and kind of doing the acting to yourself at this point. I know you attended Ball State where you
Hmm.
studied theater. You
Hmm.
also became Miss Ball State.
Yeah.
So how did that chapter of your life prepare you for actually stepping into the entertainment industry?
In many ways, it did. When it comes to my art, my craft,
Okay.
and preparation, because literally from my freshman year in high school through my senior year in college, I was always doing a show. It
Okay.
was musical theater. That's what I thought I was going to do. It wasn't until my junior year in college that I ever had an inkling of acting for film, because I we would go to the drive-in when I was a kid, but it was not a serious thing in my family, because we didn't go see movies like that. We were very active, a lot of sports, a lot of that kind of stuff. Um, I had classes, but I was a gymnast, so I was sporty in my way too. So
Okay.
I just didn't think about movies. It was always musical theater and eventually theater, that fed me. And so I did it nonstop. I didn't have a social life. I didn't have friends. My friends were the scripts that I read, and the roles that I performed, and the people that I worked with at the time. And then the choirs, I sang with them and had my own bands and did all this kind of stuff. That was my life. That, taking care of my siblings and helping my parents,
Hmm.
eventually my grandparents, and then being very active in the church. I was very, very active in my grandfather's church. I mean, it was my social life. Those were the people I knew, the people I hung out with, and all of that.
Did those experiences eventually give you confidence, discipline, or, to do something deeper? Like, because you wasn't naturally, a talkative person and stuff like that, but did that eventually change?
That didn't change until after I started therapy in my mid 20s.
Okay.
I didn't start talking to people like comfortably. I could talk one on one with anybody
Okay.
because I have another gift. I have a gift of listening to people. And so I was always the one that literally everybody, whoever was going through whatever, would always come to me, because they knew I would keep their secrets and they could talk to me, you know. Um, but I didn't utter a word most any other time.
Now,
You know,
how are you comfortable and confidence with performing in front of a large group of people, but not actually having
I've
conversations?
always done it. I've always done it. My family was the type of family that everybody had to do something on every holiday. All the kids were constantly performing. So I might not be having conversations with anybody, but I knew poetry to recite. I knew scenes, I knew songs. So I was constantly performing. There's a lot of performers like that. They're extremely outgoing in their craft,
Hmm.
but as people, they're introverts. They're thinkers. They like to be by themselves and quiet. And that was me. You know,
Okay.
I eventually had to learn how to get out of that because when I first started my career, I would go to parties with a book because books were my best friends. I would read and I'd be in the corner reading at parties, and that didn't go over well.
Ah,
So the first time I started getting therapy, I told my therapist, I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to talk to. I know how to talk to people one on one, but these networking events and all this crap, it's just not my thing. But unfortunately, it has to kind of be your thing because that's how you work more than anything, not because you're talented, not because you're beautiful, not because of any of those reasons, educated, but because of who you know. And I only knew people I worked with, and I didn't know them well because I was so shy.
gotcha.
So I'll never forget. It was one of the most helpful things she ever told me. My first therapist, I've had a few. She said to me, "Act like you're Cynda." I said, "Huh?" She goes, "You're not just Cindy. You're not just Cynda. Because Cindy was my legal born name. Now it's my family name. I had to
Yeah,
change it because of SAG." She said, "Those are two different people." She said, "Cindy is the quiet introvert, book reading, by yourself, never saying a word version of you, the domestic one, the one that paints interior design and, grows things and has a green thumb."
hmm,
And then there's Cynda, who moved to New York and got a movie within 3 months of being there in her first off-Broadway play, and was brave enough to go to a place on her own and make it. She said, "That's who you need to be." She said, "Act it until it becomes you. That is how you become someone bigger.
got it,
Act
got
like
it.
you are that girl." And that was exactly the perfect thing to tell me. And that's what I did. And that's how I found my voice. And it became me. But it took some time, but it became me. And I still would rather be in an intimate group of people as
Okay.
opposed to a large group of party or whatever. I love to go dancing, but I usually go dancing when the club first opens and nobody's there but me and my girls, and we dance for 3 hours and then leave when everybody comes.
Yeah,
That's
whenever.
still me, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, has that changed, or are you still kind of introverted a little bit
Yeah,
more?
I can talk. I can go to parties now. I can fit in. I can schmooze with the best of them, but I never small talk. When I talk to people, I talk real from who I am, authentic. I really care about people. I really love people. I love getting to know people. So that's how I make so many connections, because when I talk to people, I talk to them as if they're a human being, not someone I can get something out of or whatever. I'm interested, very interested in people. So that is a part of both parts of me. So when I go to these gatherings, I'll find the person standing alone, not talking to anyone, shy, and that's the one I'll approach. And that's the one I'll be like, "Hey, my name is Cynda. How are you? What's your name? Tell me about yourself." And just dive on in there and start a conversation and oftentimes make friends,
Oh, that's
or
crazy.
acquaintances. Hmm.
Okay. Well, before we discuss you moving to New York, I did want to ask you, how does it feel? How did it feel becoming Miss Ball State?
Oh, it's so funny. If I'm going to be honest, the only reason why I did it was because I wanted to live off campus. I did not want to live in the dorms anymore. I
Okay.
did not have enough money to live off campus, and I didn't want any more loans. I had one loan. I wanted to keep it low. And so I started asking different, staff members and stuff. I'm like, is there any more scholarships I can apply for? Because I was already getting I was getting a theater scholarship. I was getting a scholarship for that this man had started up that was a Black alumni. He for the top Black students in Ball State.
Hmm.
So I was receiving that every year. My brother started receiving it also when he came in, but it still wasn't enough. So someone said, "How about doing Miss Black Ball State?" I was like, "Miss Black Ball State? Oh, that's interesting. Is there a Miss Ball State?" And they were like, "Yeah, but Black women do Miss Black Ball State because no Black woman is really in Miss Ball State, and no Black woman has ever won Miss Ball State. So there's Miss Black Ball State." I was like, "I'll do Miss Ball State."
That's
And
what's up.
they're like, "Why would you?" And people got offended, actually. "You think you're too good?" I said, "It has nothing to do with being too good. It has everything to do with in life. My competition is going to be everyone, not just one set of people,
Ooh,
you know?
message.
So if I'm going to compete in this world, I got to be prepared. So I'm going to go for Ball State, Miss Ball State. And I didn't know anything about it. I am a tomboy. I walk like my father. Because my mom had polio my whole life, so she didn't hardly walk. So I learned how to walk from my, CPD daddy, who was all man. So I
Hmm.
walk like a dude. There was nothing soft about me, nothing feminine. I grew up with all boys if I ever,
Uh-huh.
So it was my first foray into being feminine. The interview section, no problem. I'm a smart person. I
Okay.
can I can handle myself in a discussion, and I looked good, although I did work out really hard to look better to me. And I had those things. I had the talent. That was easy. I was singing, and I knew I was good at that. So my only thing was like being able to walk in heels. And
Okay. Had
so,
to had to tap into that feminine.
yeah, I'm like, huh? I'm only wearing tennis shoes all the time. I'm on Chucks, and I don't
Ooh.
wear no heels. And I'm still like that. I wear them if I have to, but I don't if I don't. I don't wear makeup. I don't, I got a little lips on, a little stuff, something. But I don't wear makeup. I don't like get my hair did all the time. I definitely don't do my nails and stuff. I'm very natural.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice about you back then. Like seeing you acting, you just had a
Mm-hmm.
natural look to yourself. Like you just had like a natural beauty, which you know I feel like was more of a thing then than it is now. But I think
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of actresses back then embraced that. So
Yeah, I've never I you have to wear makeup because camera catches every pore and all that stuff. You have to wear makeup. But I always ask, could it be natural? Can I look like I almost don't have on anything?
got it.
Because that is me every day. I don't wear stuff. I put a little color on my lips, a little color on my cheeks, especially in the winter when I'm pale. These days fill in my eyebrows because they're getting really light. You know, I don't wear a lot of stuff, and I had nails at one point, and they destroyed my natural nail. I'm like, I don't want that crap.
What?
So Yeah, I get a pedicure though. I do get a pedicure every once in a while. I do like that because I like my feet rubbed. But yeah,
Everybody like their feet rubbed.
everybody like oh, some people are
Yeah.
ticklish, but I love it. Anyway,
Oh no.
that was my
Okay.
big challenge, and
Okay.
I was able to pull it off. I had enough help. I had people making my dresses and all that kind of stuff, and like I said, all the other stuff that was just easy. I was fully confident in it. By then I'd been performing constantly my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I won, everybody was shocked. Everybody was shocked because it never happened before, and it was great. It was the money I needed to live off campus, and which was why I did it. And the natural progression was to go to Miss Indiana, which then was Miss America. And that's when I experienced some really garbage experience. You know, I did well. I should have won. One of the judges, she's a Kentucky lady, she gave me 0 points.
Ooh.
0 points. It was after Vanessa Williams and all the stuff that happened with her. And she said, I'm not letting a nigger represent Indiana.
Damn.
So she gave me 0 points. I had such high scores with everyone else that I still placed. And so I still got a scholarship, but I didn't go to Miss America, which would have changed the trajectory of my career for sure. But it wasn't for me. And I just moved on. But the main reason why I did it is I wanted to live off campus.
Got it.
So I got what I wanted, and I tapped into some feminine that I'd never touched before. I did something that no one had ever done, and it was a good experience.
Okay. Oh, one thing I forgot. I normally start with this at the beginning of the origin is where are you from originally?
Chicago.
Chicago. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always say Chicago by way of Muncie, Indiana. My mom and dad were married illegally in Indiana. It was illegal at the time. And my father went into the Army. My mom was pregnant with me. She was in college. She was a senior. And when she started showing, they put her out because they knew that she was with a black man. So she got kicked out of school her senior year. And so one of her primary teachers was like, I don't want to work at a place that does that. So she quit the school and she brought my mother with her to Chicago to work in a hospital laboratory because my mother was like a chemist. It would have done something very different in her life had she finished school. She never did. But that's how we ended up in Chicago. She was very pregnant with me when we arrived in Chicago by herself. Some of my aunts and uncles helped her. My grandparents on my dad's side helped her because my dad was in the Army. But it was a huge move for this little small town white girl, you know, to move to big old time Chicago West Side. But she did it. She was brave, and I had to grow up really quickly because she didn't have any help. She couldn't walk normally, so I had to learn how to walk. She said I was walking by 6 months. I was potty trained by 6 months because I had help, you know.
So you moved from Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
to New York?
Yes.
Okay. So I know your most well-known acting was your debut in Mo Better Blues, and it was such a cultural important moment. So what do you remember most about stepping onto the set for the first time? Because you're on there with Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, one of the greats. You had your relationship
Well,
in the
you have
movie.
to remember when it was. It was before Denzel had taken off.
Mm-hmm.
By then he had done Glory, but the premiere hadn't happened yet, so people hadn't seen it. He'd done some television. He'd done a couple of movies, but he wasn't anybody yet.
Gotcha.
Nobody was. Robin Harris was. Robin Harris was a
Oh yeah.
big star. But and Abby Lincoln, who Spike ended up cutting out of the movie, unbelievably, was a legend. There was a few legends. Everybody in it was amazing, but most of us were babies. Most of us were new, just starting out. I'd been acting longer than Denzel. You know what I mean? He's 11, 12 years older than me or something. So he'd been, but he didn't start until college. I'd been doing it my whole life. So he was definitely the star of the show, period. But he wasn't Denzel yet.
I got
He
you.
wasn't the heartthrob. He wasn't the one everybody loved and looked up to. He wasn't that yet. None of us were, you know. So it was I I was used to boys clubs because I grew up in one. It was a boys club. You know, the women, we were secondary. We were not a part of the ensemble. We were just they would, our parts obviously Joie and I and all the women in the thing. We had our importance, but that movie was about a man. That movie was about a man and his wife music and his brothers in music, the musicians, and then these ladies, you know what I'm saying? We were just peripheral for his character.
Okay.
And I don't think we were peripheral for the movie,
Oh no.
but for his character, in the trajectory and the arc of him, we just were, a way to release. And so I didn't really hang out. I would go on set and watch because I truly was not prepared. I didn't know anything about movies. As a matter of fact, my first audition, I auditioned completely incorrectly. I was looking right at the camera because I had commercial auditions before, but I'll never forget Spike was like, okay, that's nice, but you don't look at the camera. You look at me. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know. And I didn't watch enough movies to even think about it. So I'm all about education. I care about education and skills. So, I think the shoot schedule was about 10 weeks, and
Okay.
I'm not. My part was spread out over that 10 weeks, so that was cool because I got paid for the whole time. But although that not that much, I didn't get paid that much, but it was still spread out, so I was getting weekly. But I said, okay, I'm going to the set because I want to watch how they do these things. I want to see. I have to learn because for a few years before that, before I moved to New York, casting directors in Chicago have been telling me you need to do movies. And I didn't understand what they were talking about. I'm like, I'm a theater girl. I'm a musical theater girl. They're like, no, you're not. You're a movie girl. And that's what you need to do. That's where you will excel. But I didn't have any training in it. So Mo Better Blues was like throwing me into the fire to learn how to the technical side of it, the creative side, because I was used to being directed. I was used to the director saying, do this, do that, try that shot. That was not Spike. Spike Lee is a technical director. He was all about the visuals and the sound and there's three different kind of directors in my opinion, my experience. One, the one that are fully engaged with the technical aspect of it, how
Okay.
it's shot, how it's lit, how the sound is, how it looks, blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
Then you have your directors that are like totally focused on the actors' performances. That's where they thrive, and then they have great designers that will take care of the rest. And then you have your Clint Eastwoods that are both.
Okay.
They are really great with actors and directing actors, and so I was used to being directed, and here I am creating the character, writing the role. I mean, everything I said in ad lib auditions, and not auditions, in rehearsals, and he wrote down. I came up with the character. He allowed me to. He engaged me before I got the role for 6 weeks, saying, "Who is she? What does she do for a living? What is she? I filled in the blanks of who this woman. I created this character, and that I wasn't used to. I was used to doing mainstream, theater that had been performed for hundreds of years. Some of it, and being directed very closely by a director. And I actually love to be directed because I believe that it's an ensemble. Best performances come when an actor is directed. That's how I believe. But here I am in a movie where I'm not being directed. I'm just being told, find your light. You know what I'm saying? What's your frame? I'm not being told, what are you feeling right now in this situation or what,
Okay.
So that was new for me. So that was the beginning of my experience of having to direct myself when it comes to the characterizations and all of that kind of stuff, which in a way was freeing because then I could really hone in and focus on creating the person I wanted whoever to be.
Well, I ain't gonna lie. You excelled emotionally in the scene. You know, the one where Denzel character calls out. He calls out like your name. Well,
Mm-hmm.
to was that Spike Lee's sister? When that Spike Lee's
Well,
sister?
to be honest with you, I'm a really good actress. Okay, let me just say,
Yeah.
I am, because I barely cursed. I was not sexually active. None of that stuff was acting. I was a church girl. For real. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I didn't party. None of that stuff. But I am great at absorbing other people and watching people and saying, okay, I like the way that person does it. I can be drunk in a second. Okay, what I'm saying? I feel drunk right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can act. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just coming up. Now, Spike, he did help me with the cursing. He was like, you have to learn how to curse, because I was terrible at it. Because I didn't do it. I was terrible. So he would like work with me on the cursing. He definitely had to work on the cursing. Because I sounded like the whitest girl on the planet.
Yeah, I love that scene when he's going back and forth. It's like showing you, then showing his sister, and then Denzel's like, I didn't call you her name, and you're like, yeah, you did. And it's like y'all are like grilling him, but it's like going back and forth. But the acting that you showed excelled in that, like the raw emotion.
That was all acting. Up to that point, I had one boyfriend who was just my friend. We had never been together. I never had those experiences where I'm like telling people off and stuff. That wasn't me. Now, I used to fight. Don't get me wrong. I would fight, but there were never words. I would just beat people up that messed with me. I used to fight every day, but it never were words. I never said anything. I just, if you touched me, you're gonna get beat down. So I had that in me.
She said, okay, so you were not a talker.
But I was not a talker. And I definitely didn't curse. And when I did, it sounded stupid. I sound like a wannabe. What was that movie? Malibu's Most Wanted.
Oh, yeah, the comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that silly. I just didn't know how to do it. So Spike, kudos. He taught me how to curse. He's like, oh my God, you can't do that. No one will ever believe.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm quick. I learned.
And the fact that,
and like I said, I observe others. So,
well, I do want to ask you this. Since I know that you can sing in real life, obviously, was that your vocals and you actually singing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It always blows my mind when people ask that. I mean, my name is all on there, Cynda Williams.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, of course it was. I mean, back in those days, they only started like doing live performances in movies maybe like Moulin Rouge or something like that. Before that, you went into the studio, you recorded the song, and then you lip sync it when you performed it in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always sing out loud because I couldn't fake. I didn't want to just move my mouth because there's so much more that goes into singing a song. You breathe when you sing. You know, you can see the movement in your throat when you sing. You can see the air coming from your diaphragm when you sing. So I actually, every time they shot it, I was actually singing it. But I recorded it before we even shot anything. You know, we recorded the song.
Gotcha.
And yeah,
No,
that was enough for me.
I know you really sung it. I just asked that question because obviously, as podcasters, you have these people that watch and be like, I still want to know. I got to hear it from her. And so they be wanting
Mm-hmm.
to actually hear it from the guest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did this. So that's what that
Yep,
was.
I did it, and I understand it because I still hear people say, "What you saying this?" I'm like, it says it right on the song. Cynda Williams.
I know it's just
I
that.
also recently got a call. Somebody asked me on one of my platforms if Wesley and I were really together physically on that balcony scene. I'm like,
Oh,
no. And they were like, "Boy, you are such a good actress." I really believe. I'm like, you don't even know how much that wasn't real. That was pure acting. Oh yeah, that was acting.
well, I'm definitely fixing to get into some more of your acting because one of my personal favorite movies that you've done,
Hmm.
okay, was One False Move. Obviously, I think
Hmm.
it is such an underrated movie. I mean, you know, with you in there, Bill Paxton, Michael Beach, Billy Bob Thornton, and stuff. I know it earned you uh, a critical acclaim and major nomination, but how did that role stretch your creativity and emotionally?
Well, that movie I would say saved my career
Yeah.
because for a few reasons. One, I could have just been a fluke, right? I could have just been a fluke. And some people said I was because of certain things. One false move proved that it's an actress. You
Mhm.
know, there was no song. It was pure acting. Um, it just was a combination of years of preparation that I was able to show in that film. Because, you know, in Mo Better Blues, they cut out a lot of stuff. They cut out, you know, who I really was beyond Denzel's lover and the singer at the end. They
Okay.
cut that stuff out. One false move, you got to know this girl, you know.
Yeah.
And just like all the roles, that girl wasn't me at all. There's nothing, you know, the only way we were the same is the mulatto background. Um, but that was it. I wasn't anything like her. But I loved her. And that is most of my characters, I have loved them and in their creation. And that's how I'm able to be authentic because I get to know them very well and they always have redemption. They all, no matter how bad they are, and I have played some horrible characters, I have a love for them and I understand them.
Mhm.
So One False Move was a true blessing for me because a lot of things were happening before that that indicated that I was going to have a very short-lived career.
Okay.
I did not get on board with certain things that were asked of me. It was, I've never had a problem with saying no to things that went against my soul.
Okay.
And there were things being asked of me that I wasn't in for. And there were some things taken from me and some things that happened. So One False Move put me in front of an audience that was different than the Mo Better Blues audience. It was completely niche. It was film noir. Many people that watched Mo Better Blues never even heard of One False Move, but there was a lot of people. I mean, that movie, while underrated by the Mo Better Blues crowd, was very uplifted by a lot of people. We got best film that year. Our movie was number one on, I think, 10 different critics of best film of the year.
Yeah, that was a good movie. That was a real good
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, it
Like,
was just at the time it was different. It was nothing was out like it. Now there's a million movies like, that are graphic and stuff like that. But at the time, I remember when that film first came out, people were walking out of the theater in the first 10 minutes. They couldn't watch it. It was too violent for them. It was based on a true story, loosely based on a true story. And we had to change some things because the actual people that the real people were on trial. They were not dead. They were on trial for murder. All those murders in the beginning and all that kind of stuff really happened. Yeah, it really happened. So, and from what I understand in the picture I saw, I looked very much like that girl,
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, how did that role change how the industry saw you, or at least how you saw yourself?
Well, it didn't change how I saw myself because I know
Oh,
I'm good.
okay. No, you.
I mean,
No, you were phenomenal in that one. I ain't gonna lie.
I had to work a long time on my self-esteem about me personally, my looks, my everything. I had to work on that. When it comes to my creative gifts, I know I can always be better, but I know I'm good, So I didn't surprise myself. But I think I surprised a population of people because, like I said, they thought I was just a pretty girl that got lucky. Many of them didn't even know I sang the song. I was just another yellow girl that came out of nowhere and flashing the pan in and out,
Yeah.
But that movie set up the fact that no, this is actually an actor. This is someone that can act.
Yeah.
This is someone that can,
You showed so many different emotions in that movie. Like at the beginning, it was kind of like you kind of had like a kind of scared, but kind of like, hey, just give them what they want. And then then you showed a sense of like, I'm not scared, after you shoot the state trooper. And so it's like, okay, this is the life that I'm leading. So it showed that. Then you had the kid that was between you and Bill Paxton's character. Okay. And then you show this vulnerability of your character. And then you also have a sexuality that you show that's not too over the top, sexual, but like, so I don't know, like that. When I saw you in that movie, I was just like, damn, like she really could act, like, and you really got a chance to really show that. Like, you were acting in Mo Better Blues and stuff, and like I said, I always commend you for how y'all brought that whole story to light. But One False Move, I just feel, with such a good script, with such a had a phenomenal actors in there, and like I think y'all killed it. So I
the thing about that a lot of people don't know about One False Move. First, it was called Hurricane. It was and the first time I auditioned for it was I had a photo shoot with Denzel in LA, and so I was in LA, so that's why I was able to audition for it. The script, it might have been 150 pages. It was an epic saga. Big movie, lots of monologues, lots of dialogue. One of the best scripts I have ever read in my life. Literally the last couple of years, I have finally been getting some other scripts that I'm like comparable in expertise, right? In the excellence of it. So what I had that was so special with that film was I studied this phenomenal screenplay and I memorized it because I was a theater girl. I memorized everything. I worked with a coach. I prepared so much for that character. And then when we got to Arkansas, they handed us a new script.
Oh
That's
shit.
half of it. It's half of the movie. It's all gone. Everything, all the dialogue, all the monologues, gone. And now it's this very terse film noir, music driven, less about the words and more about what you see. Carl Franklin totally honed it down, cut out the fat, cut out all the beautiful dialogue and monologues, and just cut it all out. But because I had studied the original and knew it, that all came out in my acting. I just wasn't saying the words, but it was in my interior life,
Got it.
you know. So I had that special gift. And most of the time, I have to do that for myself. I have to like really come up with a thick monologue or biography of a person so I can get to know them so well, so the audience can read that without hearing words. Just read it in my performance, read it in the way I present the words, because so much is nonverbal
Yeah.
in real life. In communication, it's nonverbal. But if you're just working off this thin little 90-page script, that's not a whole human being, you know?
Yeah.
So it prepared me for other work I did later, because I knew, because of how I studied that dense text, that I needed to create some text for myself and all my characters. You know?
Well, I appreciate you giving us that movie. Like I tell anybody, like, go watch that movie. Now, one thing I'd ask you is this. You like I said before, you've worked alongside incredible talent, including you played Halle Berry's sister twice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what did those collaborations teach you about, sisterhood and navigating Hollywood during that time?
Well, one of the unfortunate things that I learned about Hollywood that was different than Chicago. Chicago is Everybody ends up leaving Chicago because the infrastructure doesn't really support us like that. You got to go away to get any support in Chicago, right?
Okay.
But the talent pool is phenomenal. And because of the harshness of life, of 4 seasons and all of that kind of stuff, it there's a depth to artists coming out of Chicago that isn't, I think, everywhere.
Okay.
And so I didn't make a lot of friends, because in Hollywood, unless you're in the cliques or doing things outside of the work, you know. So working with her was exciting to me because we clicked immediately. We clicked right away, and we felt like sisters. You know, there were certain aspects of our backstory that was similar. She was Miss Universe. You know, her father was Black, and her mother was white too. We both come from that kind of background. Both come from the Midwest. You know, so working with her was very exciting, and a lot of people, had issues with you playing under her. I never did, because to me it was all work. To me it
Yeah.
was all fun. I've played all different kind of roles, different sizes. I've pretty much at least played a supporting role in everything I've done until lately, more a lot of cameos. But I never had a problem being her co-star ever. I loved it. And she's such a phenomenal producer. She's got a sweet spirit, but yet a fierce one. She is certainly a Leo. She is very, very fierce and protective, but at the same time, she can be very sweet. So I loved working with her. I'm just only recently telling this truth. I'm very picky about how much I share of inside stories, but after we did Dorothy Dandridge, She told me, she's like, Cynda, you know, I appreciate you playing my co-star twice now. I want to do something with you where we're playing equals. Our names are next to each other. And so that was the plan. And we started working towards making that happen. And her manager put an end to it. Her manager was like, no, you can't work with her. No, not in those circumstances. She can be under you, but she can't be equal to you because she'll overshadow you. And I'm not having it. So that was the end of that. And it really bummed me out because I thought, oh, finally, I'm going to make a friend out here. You know, all my friends were locals, people that did not do what I do. I don't really have that many friends that are actors from Hollywood. You know, my girl, Niecy Payne, she was in One False Move. She had a small part, but she became very close to me. And then a couple of other girls. The funny thing is, almost everybody I create had any kind of sense of camaraderie with beyond the movie. They were all from Chicago.
Gotcha. How important is it for the Black women in the industry to support and uplift one another?
I think it's very important. And I do think that there are women that do it. I just, like I said, I wasn't a party girl. You know, I didn't do the schmoozing. I didn't do all of that. There were certain things that was going on in these gatherings that I wasn't comfortable with, you know. Okay. So I wasn't in. So I think there were female talent and male talent that really clicked, got along, were buddies, were friends outside of it. But they had secret lives that they shared, you know. And I'm not saying everybody, but I don't know everybody, obviously. But I wasn't a part of that. I was at home reading books.
Okay. Well, I want to switch gears on here because now I want to discuss your music. So I know you had success in music with the Harlem Blues, which was the song that she sung. Okay. Now, but your album never came out. So can you talk about that moment when something that was so promising didn't materialize the way you expected it?
Well, one thing that's different about me, that I have never done this stuff because I wanted fame or money.
Okay.
I always did it because I love doing it. So when faced with the opportunity to sing in a world that was so dark, I wasn't willing to go there. And plus there were some forces that were against me because I didn't get an agreement with some things that were asked of me. And so I was like, I'd rather act. It can get grimy, but I don't have to, because of independent film, I don't have to get into that world. Okay. But music was hard to avoid. It was hard to avoid it. And I just prefer to just sing in bands, write my own music, do original stuff, than push that narrative. I was like, I just love to sing. I don't have to be known as a singer. I don't care. Okay. I just want to sing. And if I can get in front of people and make them feel something, you know, make them feel, move them in any number of ways, that's what feeds me. I don't need to be, you know, Whitney Houston. I don't need to be Mariah Carey. I don't need to be that. You know, God bless them. I love them. But I don't need to be that. So
were they trying to mess with your creativity?
No, it didn't have nothing to do with the creativity. Okay. It had to do with the things that were expected of you if you were an artist. Okay. That didn't have nothing to do with artistry. And so, you know, Me Too stuff and all of that. Okay. And I just wasn't into that. And, you know, and to be honest with you, Mo Better Blues hurt my trajectory when it came to music. I didn't sing jazz before that movie. I sang pop, I sang gospel, I sang alternative. I did not sing jazz. I hadn't even listened to jazz. I started listening to jazz when I started preparing for that film.
Okay.
They wanted me to sing jazz. They wanted me to sing something jazz-esque because they already had an audience for it. It was an easy thing. They didn't have to do any work to create anything. I just wasn't willing. I just wasn't willing to go there. I said, as long as I'm singing and writing and doing my own thing. Now, my family, they were not happy.
Okay.
Because that is what everybody thought I was going to do. They didn't care about the acting, especially my parents. They wanted me to sing. My father would be like, you know what? The acting is okay, it's cool. But when are you going to sing? Because that's where they felt that I was the most effective in sharing my gifts.
Okay.
You know, but once I, moved into the movie realm and I sang on some movies, and soundtracks and scores and stuff like that. And I have never really stopped. And of course, I got stuck in the jazz realm because that's what was expected of me. That's what was asked of me. And now I love it. It's beautiful. I love jazz. But at 22, 23 years old, I was like, I'm too young for that,
Yeah.
So I remember I did this show. All these record labels were there to see Cynda, right? They were there to see Cynda Williams. And I had a really short pixie cut. I had on my little plaid skirt and my combat boots and, the fishnet stockings and the mini skirt and plaid mini skirt and that was me. The Timberlands, that was me.
Okay.
And I performed with my band and we killed it. It was alternative rock, killed it. And all of these music, folks were coming up. Oh my God, you were great. Blah, 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 whatever. I can't remember the name of the band in that one. You were awesome. You were this, you were that, blah, 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 blah. That's so phenomenal. Oh my God, we got to talk. We got to sit down. But where's Cynda? Is Cynda coming out anytime soon? They didn't even know it's me. They didn't even know. They didn't recognize me.
Damn. So you look completely different.
Totally. They were looking for Clark Bendecourt. They were not looking for me.
Got it.
So.
Well, I know you haven't stopped doing music, and I'm also going to touch on this because I know you have a soundtrack for this. So your book,
right?
Yep, Pink Pantie Confessions. I know that's deeply personal. So for you being so introverted, what gave you the courage to be that vulnerable and open up with your story?
Well, I always wanted to be a writer. I just didn't know which genre I would write.
Okay.
When my daughter was getting to the age where she was starting school and I realized that I was going to have to make a decision. Did I want her to have a mother or did I want her to have a nanny?
Ooh, okay.
And I decided that I wanted to be her mother. And so that meant I was going to have to take a break from the acting career because I was all over the place, and in the beginning it was fine because she could come with me. But there came a point where she needed some stability. And her dad worked at home most of the time, but his work took him away too. So I had to make a decision. And that's when I was like, I have to, long story that I'll make short. I got this play, one of them gospel plays, and I was gone for several months. And my daughter was with my brother in Texas, and every single day she was bawling. And I was shocked because she loved my brother. I didn't think it would be a problem, but she cried every single day. And when the show got shut down because of the recession, the show got shut down, and I told my brother, don't tell Sophia I'm coming. And I came, and when she saw me, she just started screaming and crying. She said, God does do miracles. God does miracles. You came home. You came. And she said, please don't ever leave me again. So that was it. I was like, okay, I have to choose. And so I chose my daughter.
That's what's up.
So I started writing.
Okay.
I'd already been writing screenplays for quite some time, but not really writing them to produce them, writing them just for me because I had so many stories inside of me. So when I guess I started blogging when I lived in Singapore. We moved to Singapore for a couple of years. Her dad got a job he's a producer, business affairs, and he's a lawyer. And so at this point, he was teaching in university in Singapore. So we lived there, and it was so beautiful and such a wonderful experience that I started writing about it. And I started sharing those letters with all the people back in the States. And everybody's like, oh my God, you write so well. You should write. You should write. So that began my blogging.
Okay.
And then eventually when I came back to Chicagoland, I was doing a play and I brought my daughter back. I was blogging once a week. I was putting a new blog out, and a guy that I knew that owned a different kind of company called me. He's like, I have a publishing company. I really think you need to make this into a book. You really need to. And the Pink Pantie Confessions came from when I turned 40. I had a friend of mine and my girl, I mentioned already, Nisi, and I would have what we call pink panty parties. We would come together once a month, talk about our lives and what was going on for the last month, and drink pink panties, which is a pink lemonade and vodka mix, slushy. And we would have these drinks and we would call them pink panty parties. So when I turned 40, I had on a yacht a pink panty party, and I invited all my friends, and there was like 10 of us or something like that. And none of them knew each other, but because I have individual friendships, I don't do groups.
Okay.
And we came together and we were sitting down below, my husband at the time, my daughter, the captain, they were all upstairs. We were downstairs and we naturally formed a circle. We just started talking. And within an hour, we all told something that really moved us, really touched us, really made us laugh, really whatever. And at the end of it, there was this natural pause. And then somebody said, Pink Pantie Confessions. And then somebody said, that's a book. And somebody said, that's a movie. That's a television. So that's where the brand began. Because I wrote, before I did a blog, I wrote the screenplay, and it was loosely based on my life. And I still haven't produced that thing. And I just have done all these different things, all about people expressing themselves, coming out of the shadows, coming out of the closet, and talking about themselves. And originally I wanted it to be like a chicken soup for the soul, my version of it. Mm-hmm. And people didn't trust me. They only knew me as an actress. So I was like, okay, fine. Well, if I can't get people to tell me their stories, I'll tell my own. And that's when I started blogging, and then it became a book. And in the book, I ended up having a few contributors add their confessions to the book.
Okay.
And yeah.
What made you do the soundtrack?
Well, I have all over the place. I have different musician friends that I have been singing with or performing with for years. And there was a couple of guys that were that I did some music with out of Philadelphia, New Jersey, on the line there. And they came to me and they were like, look, you have this awesome book. We want to put music to it. We want to do this. And so in the screenplay version, it's a musical. So I have songs in there. Every episode has 2 songs. Okay. And we didn't really include that. There's a lot of music that I have that hasn't come out yet. But they created music. They were inspired by my book. And so they created this music inspired by the book. And then I did the presentation where I didn't read the entire book, but I just read excerpts and I talked about why I wrote what I wrote, sang some, and then the music was inspired by.
Okay. Well, hey, if I want everybody to go check out that, she actually has it on Spotify. I listened to it last night again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from writing the book, you also have some community works that I wanted to touch on. Like you also been doing some meaningful work with a nonprofit, Guiding Light.
Well, Guiding Light, I actually did work with for quite some time.
Okay.
But that came to an end around COVID. I
Okay.
stopped working with Guiding Light. Now I'm working with a group called Rise to Fly because I
Okay.
left Indiana. When I moved from Indiana, my work with them kind of came to an end. But I
Okay.
moved. I moved a few times. I've been nomadic over in the last few years. But now I'm working with a group called Rise to Fly, a guy named Zilza Trotter, Pastor Zilza Trotter in Chicago, and doing phenomenal things in the city of Chicago and in Bolingbrook, which is a suburb. And I'm working with them on several projects. I have my own dreams. I always believed that, the singing, all the creative gifts were gifts that God gave me to use to build a platform so I could eventually do what I was supposed to do, which is somehow serve people.
Okay.
Um, I come from a service background, feeding people. Like I said, my therapeutic work. I am a hypnotherapist, though I don't practice. I don't practice it. I got the education just because every movie I did, I became the set shrink, and I was like, I need some real skills beyond my natural gifts. So there are certain, I don't want to get too deeply into what I'm trying to do, but I'm very excited about a project that I'm working with Rise to Fly, and that is a collaboration and a feeder thing for some of the stuff that he's doing. Very excited about the possibilities. But it's basically, I can say this much, it's working with the general population of kids. There's a lot of, because since Sophia, my daughter, was in school, I wanted to be near her and I wanted to make some money because I wasn't working anymore. So I started substitute teaching. So I've been working in high schools, wow, since 2012 or something. I've been working, not consistently. It's flexible. So I go do a movie, I come back, I do that. I go do a play, I come back and I do that. But I've come to love these kids, and I just don't think that they're being prepared for life these days. Things have changed tremendously when it comes to um, these kids being prepared for life after high school. So I want to give them preparation. What I found is so many kids don't know what to do with their lives. And
Oh
so
yeah.
they often end up doing what their parents did,
Yeah.
no matter if they were successful or not, because they just don't have opportunities or see the available options. So I want to, give them an opportunity to see the different kind of things in life that you can do that are creative and that can create a career and give you, you know, finding the thing you love so you can have a career in that.
Okay.
Not everybody's a scientist or a mathematician or historian or a teacher or any of those things. Somebody's a mechanic, somebody's a chef, somebody's a singer, somebody's a writer, somebody. So if they never have the opportunity to learn that that's a gift that they have, then they end up doing things they hate. And I want to help kids find their passions and monetize those passions so they're doing what they love and they're living
Gotcha.
fully.
Yeah, you must
Mhm.
be in my brain because I was actually about to ask you what inspired you to follow that. But before I can even get it out, you just started going that way already. So you actually answered that question that I had about that. But as far as you creating, you've written a film called Baby Girl. Now you expressed interest in having your friend Victoria Mahoney directed.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
are you still trying to bring vision to life?
You know what? It's so funny because every time I think, okay, now it's time to do that one, because I've written a lot of screenplays, a lot of which that are being pitched right now and trying to get made.
Okay.
Baby Girl is not one of them. That was my heart project. It actually came to me. Omar McClinton was the original writer of it. He had this idea for me, and oh my gosh, I'm completely blocking her name. Pam Grier. Pam
Okay.
Grier.
Shout out to
She was
Pam
supposed to
Grier.
play my mother, and it was just, but it really needed a lot of work. I was like, don't give this to Pam Grier. This is not ready for Pam Grier. So he's like, well, what do you think I need? I said, let me take a pass at it. And so for years working on that thing, I am now, I think, too old for the dang old movie. I think I'm too old for it. So if I ever get it made, it'll probably be made with a cast that doesn't include me, because I just think it's past my time. You know, literally, my daughter is coming up on 25. I've been working on that movie for 27 years. And we have never gotten it done, and it's timeless. It is so phenomenal, and I pray that we get it done. I pray. Victoria, I don't know if I think Victoria will be phenomenal director of it. She's done so many things, but her career has kind of taken her into a sci-fi genre more and fantasy genre.
Okay.
This is an action familial dramedy. You know,
Okay.
do I think she could do it? Absolutely. Do I think she would do it? I don't know. I don't know if that is something that she would do. And that's another reason why it's been difficult, because it's not a cheap movie. It would cost, it would be a decent budget for it. It wouldn't be, a sci-fi, Star Wars budget, not even close, but it would be, in the millions.
I got you.
You know,
Good action movie budget.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be. And it takes place in Chicago and in LA. So, and there's
Oh,
big
yeah.
scenes and action scenes and stuff. So it's not I've written for low budget. I've written specifically so that an independent filmmaker can make this movie, But that one, I just threw it all in there, all the dreams.
Okay, if they came to you right now and said, look, what kind of story you've written so far that you're passionate about telling now that you would be willing to put out, what would it be? One that you've already written.
Oh man, there's so many. I'm really in love with. They're all so different, and I literally love them all.
Okay, which one are you most passionate about?
I don't know.
Come on, Cynda.
I think the one now that I would love. Oh my God, there's so many. Honestly, there really are, and I'm not bluffing. I'm not lying.
No, I believe you.
I love them all, but I think now the one that I feel the most, that I would love to see made. I wrote it. A woman in New Jersey wrote a book. She was an unpublished writer, and she came to me to rewrite the book. And I was like, no way. That would take 2 years and a lot of money that I don't think you want to pay me. But I'll write this into a pilot for a series, because I think it'd be a beautiful series. Wasn't my idea. It was her idea, but it was a skeleton when she gave it to me. Okay. And I made it a freaking full, beautiful bodied Ethiopian or some shit. I mean, it's beautiful. And the reason why I think right now I love it, and would love to see it made immediately, is because it's dealing with a topic that I think needs to be, and it's being done. It's about a man, and it's my love story, my own love story to Black men. It's about a man who is a musician who gives up everything for his family and works. And, he still does his music, but he gets this other job to take care of, give his family the life that he believes as a Black man they deserve. because of his life. And, I wrote it in honor of my father, my brothers, my guy, all the men in my life that I see that have sacrificed so much and had to fight so hard to prove themselves. And I want to see that one made. I want to see it made. I want to see all of them made. But that one for me right now, because, we're going through a phase in our time where the masculine is being deconstructed. What does it mean for the masculine, and not just man, but masculine in all of us? What does that mean? What does divine masculine mean? And it's being deconstructed. And I think that just like what always happens, sometimes people go too far in their condemnation of a problem when they need to feed love into it instead, and understanding and comprehension and empathy. And I think that this series has that. He's a flawed human being. He's made mistakes, but man, it all comes from a love of family. It comes from there. And I think of everything I've written, that's the one that I would love to see done like now.
Gotcha. Okay. A little mini series. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got to ask you this, not just as a fan, but for the culture. But who are the top five? This is your top five question. So who are your top five actresses or artists that shaped you?
See, I don't have a popular answer here because I didn't watch movies.
Okay, so would it be singers for you?
Maybe singers. I loved Tina Turner. I loved Barbara Streisand. Ooh. I loved Laura Nyro.
That's 3.
Ricky Lee Jones.
That's 4.
Got
one more.
And eventually Billie Holiday.
That's it.
Yeah. And so many more, but I listened to them. Carole King. I could go on and on, with because I didn't really feed into the real acting until I started the movies. I'd done some, I directed some on stage, but I was all about musicals. So it was music for me up until I got into this business, at this level. And then all of a sudden I started watching movies for the first time, It was the people in my life that affected me most. Gotcha. The people I saw every day, my grandmother, my uncle, my grandfather, my father, my mother, those people were the ones I looked up to and gained from. My mother could sing, my father could sing, my uncle could sing, my grandmother could sing, my grandfather had a terrible voice, but he was amazing in that pulpit, and he would dance around with James Brown, and the people that were in my life were the ones that affected me the most, that were most influential.
Okay. Now, I don't like ending with what's next because this platform is about documenting legacies. So when it's all said and done and somebody finds your story years from now, what do you want them to understand about your contribution to the culture?
That it all comes from love. It does. I love people to a fault almost, because I've been hurt so many times. But I've never gotten bitter. I've never felt hatred. I've gotten angry at certain horror stories that I have, but I always can get over it because I just understand. Somehow I understand that we're all just on this journey. We're all on a journey to oneness. We might take different directions or longer paths to get to the same place, but we're all headed to the same place. And everything that I do, every part that I play, every song that I sing, everything that I write, every person that I talk to is coming because I love them. I love them. And I hope that they feel that when they share in my gifts.
Well, from Gutter Kane and Serving It Raw, Cynda Williams, I want to give you your flowers. I want to thank you for the contributions that you've done, not just musically, but as an actress. It and your story, because it shows other people that the things that you had to deal with in the industry, but the ambition you had to keep pushing and the things that you're still doing to this day. And so I want to make sure that if nobody ever tells you this, I appreciate everything that you have done now, past, and future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Well, I want to give a big shout out to all my servers for tapping in for another episode of Serving the Raw. I hope y'all enjoyed the ride. If you did, I want y'all to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and drop a comment below. Let us know what you think. You can also catch me on all your favorite streaming platforms. And I want to thank my guest, Cynda Williams, for sharing her time, her truth, and her journey with us today. I will be back with next Wednesday. I'll be back with next Wednesday with another episode. But until then, I want everybody to enjoy the rest of the week, and I want everybody to stay solid.
Yes,